Good morning, everybody, and today we thought we would jump on and do a quick profit hacking live all about late payment interest charging. It's a question that comes up time and time again with our clients, so we thought we'd give you a brief tutorial on how to work it and how to bring it into your business. So we're going to show you what the rules are. We're going to show you how to create a report in Xero that's going to allow you to understand which of your clients is overdue for payment per your payment terms. And we're going to show you very quickly how to invoice this in Xero. So I'm going to jump over into a different screen. I'm going to have to do something about that banner at the bottom that just keeps changing. It's such a pain. Oh my God. Right, okay. So what about late charges or late interest charges? So the Late Payment of Commercial Debts and Interest Act for 1998 allows us to charge interest from the due date of the invoice, so long as that is clearly defined in your terms and conditions. If you haven't got anything in your terms and conditions that define how you're going to charge late payment interest, then you have to stick to the terms that are in the Act, which are 30 days for public authorities and 60 days for business to business. So if, for example, you have a client who's 45 days overdue and you want to charge them late payment interest, you have to charge them for 60 days, or once it passes 60 days overdue, if it's not in your terms and conditions. So it's super important to be clear and set out your store before you start selling.
So that's probably one of the biggest pain points, actually, is a lot of people don't set it out in their T's and C's.
No, exactly. Exactly.
On top of interest, you can also claim for compensation, and the charge is one per invoice. So if you have a debtor who owes you £5,000, you don't just claim £70 for the actual whole balance. You claim £70 for each invoice that's within that bracket. So if they have 5 invoices for £1,000, that's £70 per overdue invoice. Now that one is an optional charge, you don't have to apply it, but it's always handy to have that little bit of extra income applied if you have a particularly difficult customer.
And it tends to be the compensation charge itself that is the deterrent rather than the interest charge, which is quite small. So you can only charge this compensation fee once per invoice, and you can charge it as soon as payment is overdue. Now when you're charging statutory interest, it's the base of Bank of England base rate plus 8%. So the debt times the base rate divided by 365 equals a daily rate, and then you take the debt multiplied by that daily rate. Now the interest you can charge every month. The compensation fee you can charge once per invoice. So typically what people do is they get to the end of the first month when the invoice is overdue and they raise both charges at the same time as part of their month-end processing. I'm just going to pop over into Xero. I'm going to minimise that, and Harry's going to talk us through a report that he set up and some invoice templates.
Yeah, so when it comes to actually working out what you need to claim, best way of doing this would be to use a custom report. So I might have this filtered to 45 days, and then I can see exactly which customers are overdue by 45 days. Anyone in the older column is someone that I need to flag as an invoice who requires a late payment interest charge.
So which date are you picking up here, Harry? Is that the invoice date and the due date? Yeah,
it is.
So that's the overdue date.
And I've included the invoice reference in here because that's going to become particularly useful, because I don't want to charge interest on an interest invoice. So what I want to do is make sure that I can see exactly what's included on these items.
Good idea.
Now, to make things easier for us, what we usually do is we set up a repeating invoice. So in here I've got a repeating invoice for one of my customers who constantly goes overdue. So I've set up a repeating invoice, plain and simple, and what I've done is set it to save as draft. So this way I can see when it's come through as a draft, I know actually I have a bit of workflow I need to do and I need to create this invoice charge. So this means for this particular customer, when it comes to approving my actual invoices for the month, I can see that I may potentially need to raise an interest charge for this particular customer. Now if it comes into drafts, you can of course delete it if they've paid, but also if they haven't, it gives you an actionable item.
So if you click on that one, by the time you get here, you'll have worked out what your daily interest charge is. and added your statutory charge, your compensation fee for the first month. So I would do 1 quantity or 31 quantities or 20 quantities or whatever it might be. So the quantity in this instance is your actual number of days that it's overdue at the end of the month. So it might be that it's 10 days overdue on the end of your first month, and your interest rate is, say, £2.70 per day. So I'm taking that off the top of my head. I haven't thought about it, but you would calculate yours using the interest charge rate using the formula that we showed you earlier. So then that rolls over to the next month, and it might just then be the whole month's worth of interest charges, 30 days or 31 or whatever it is. Then you raise that that invoice. If it's an interest charge, it's exempt income for VAT, so you don't charge VAT on that. If it's the compensation fee, have you got that set up as a fixed line?
I do. I just haven't yet set it up in the actual invoice.
Yeah. So I would charge that. There we go. Yeah. So interest on overdue receivables as a separate row on your P&L, and debt recovery costs as a separate income row on your P&L. But the debt recovery is like an admin charge, so that has 20% VAT on income. It's taxable, unlike the interest charge, which is not taxable. So that is our quick overview of late payment interest charges. I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, please let us know.